Oh, this is nice, isn't it? Yeah. Yo, what's going on, friends? How you all doing? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Chelsea news, kind of. I guess it is. Frank Lampard has come out and done loads of interviews apparently, most notably with the Telegraph, or certainly the Telegraph has published quotes from Frank Lampard. I'm assuming they interviewed him. Regardless, he's been talking. An article that I want to cite today because he talks about Thomas Tuchel, his sacking, the young players, and Chelsea generally moving forwards. Chelsea's top goal scorer, arguably greatest ever player, just been entered, or what's the word? Granted entry. He's just been included in the Premier League Hall of Fame, so of course he's been interviewed a lot about that, and with that he's been asked about the Chelsea job and Thomas Tuchel, and there's a lot of mutual respect there between the two of them, and it's really nice to see. It's a warming conclusion to a peculiar time. I want to get into it a little bit, and Frank also talks about his next job, potentially, stuff I really like. It's going to be a great video, guys, so consider subscribing if you're new. Make sure the bell notifications icon is pressed and drop a like to show your sweet and loving support. As we get into today's news story. Although I will be citing the Telegraph today, I want to shout out the Daily Mail. Something that I don't usually or wouldn't usually say, but Jamie Redknapp, of course Frank Lampard's cousin, he also interviewed him, and there was a lot of similar sort of things being said, but a few notables were Frank Lampard commented on the fact how Roman Abramovich put out a statement when Lampard was sacked. The first time Roman has ever done that for any manager, and considering we've had an incredible amount of managers, that is quite something. Roman loves Frank Lampard, and Frank Lampard really loves Roman for what he's given to Chelsea Football Club, so Lampard says yes, he was very happy and very moved the fact how Roman Abramovich put a statement out, and full support of Frank. It's just they needed a change or whatever, and that was nice. And he also spoke about countless positive messages from the world of management, so many different managers showing their support and solidarity with Frank Lampard because did a good job first season, and understandably didn't get a chance to continue it. If you guys know me and you watch my content, you'll know I am a massive fan of Thomas Tuchel, and of course I'm a massive fan of Frank Lampard, so this is a good video for me. I thought Frank Lampard had to be sacked, even though it really hurt my feelings. Anyway, he got loads of support from the Chelsea owner, Roman Abramovich, different managers, but also a lot of heartfelt messages from the players. And he talked about one about Reece James, which is really nice. He says he got a message from Reece that really touched him and moved him. He says Reece is a man of not many words, and we know that. He's a sort of quiet guy unless he's on the pitch, absolutely bodying opposition players. He wrote a really sweet message to Frank. It's touching, nice moments like that. Of course, he gave countless debuts to Tammy, Mason, Tomori, Gilmore, James, Gurhey, Angerin, Broja, Lamptey. The names literally go on. Frank Lampard believed in these young talented players, and he's left a great legacy there. But things changed, and in my opinion, Lampard did have to go. Despite his self-belief in being able to continue and sort things out, I don't think Chelsea were that far off the top four despite the league table position, but it did feel like things had to change. And of course, we've never looked back with Thomas Tuchel, but let's hear what Frank Lampard had to say about the sacking, his jobs moving forward, and Thomas Tuchel, which is great. Let's get into it. So we are citing Matt Law's article from the Telegraph. Whether it's the winner's medal he found in his shoe, the supporters that still sing his name and idolise him for his service as a player and head coach, or his entry into the Premier League Hall of Fame, reminders of his special connection with Chelsea are never too far away for Frank Lampard. The bond has not been diminished by his sacking, despite admitting that his pride initially did take a hit, and readying himself, as he's always done, for the next challenge, and restarting his managerial career away from Stamford Bridge. Of course, Frank Lampard has been heavily linked to Crystal Palace. I'll probably give my comment on that in just a moment. Let's read some of Frank's quotes. "I have to say that when you lose your job, it's hard," said Lampard. "Anyone who says anything different is a liar. It's not the truth. There's an element of pride. You're working towards something one day, and it's taken away from you. That's life. You have to be a realist about it. Very quickly, the dust has to settle. And one of the biggest things for me, living in Chelsea, a mile from the ground, is I walk around and see Chelsea fans all the time. You wonder what the reaction will be because you lost your job. Will they be happy with what you did or not? And I think it made me realise even more the bond I have with them from my playing days, but also what they saw what I was working towards in my one season as a head coach, up until the point where I left in season 2. It's nice, you see all this stuff on the Fulham Road, Chelsea fans going up to him, talking about him, you know, expressing like thanks and love for, you know, him just being a legend, meeting Frank Lampard, just starstruck, aren't you? And I think that's warmed Frank after a sort of, I don't know, uncertain time, like, oh, how's it gonna go, is there animosity? And I think he's felt a lot of love from Chelsea fans, which is just heartwarming, isn't it? Let's read on. I wouldn't have gone into the job without a full understanding that at some stage I might leave in whatever circumstances. I didn't go in with just a full heart wanting to go back to Chelsea after a year at management at Derby. I went into it with a full head and realising what an opportunity it was. Would it last forever? History tells you, probably not. Now this is really important because the recurring narrative is that Frank Lampard joined Chelsea because he loves Chelsea, it's in his heart. But if you know who Frank Lampard is, he's an intelligent thinking man. He always has been, incredibly smart. He would have fully sat down in a measured way and analysed the opportunity and been like, yeah, I back myself and let's see if I can do this. I'm going to do this, you know. And I think that's important. I've come to terms with the fact that my managerial career just carries on, and the beautiful thing is that I've come away from the club that I love, played for so long, and I've still got some really strong connections, and I love that side of it. The love is not lost with Frank Lampard with Chelsea. No bitterness, no sour grapes, important. He's been away raising his young family. He's just had a little boy, Freddie Lampard. Super Freddie Lampard. Sorry, I had to. Anyway, he goes on to talk about his home life a little bit, which is pretty funny. It's been nice, a couple of months just taking it in, being with a baby, not working and completely throwing yourself into that. And I've really enjoyed that side. It's been a big plus. The shock is how often I've been called upon to do house chores, dishwasher, the rubbish. I'm the rubbish man, taken out every Monday and Thursday. Brilliant bit of banter from Super Frankie Lampard. Now the article goes on here to talk about his entry into the Premier League Hall of Fame and like an esteemed honour. I don't really want to talk about that because for me that's obvious. He's a Premier League great. It was like a formality that he had to be included into the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to skip that part and I want to come back to sort of, you know, the sacking, the club, and Thomas Tuchel, because really that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. Chelsea had qualified from the group stages of the Champions League and completed a 17-game unbeaten run before falling down into 9th in the Premier League in the table when he was sacked. There have been suggestions ever since that he was pushed by midfielder Jorginho, that the Chelsea job came too soon for Lampard, but he insists that age and experience would not have changed the rules of engagement. This next bit's interesting. Let's listen to what he has to say. It's always going to be a fact as a manager, when you leave a club, there will be some players who did not play as much, so they might have a feeling or a judgment on how you work, and they can make statements. For me, I have to expect that as much as I expect the good statements from the players who are really positive about how you work. I've got no big issue with that. I've seen some quotes saying Frank Lampard took this job with his heart. I absolutely didn't. I don't make any professional decisions with my heart. Maybe I'm the absolute opposite of that. I'll go over 100 times in my head, but I certainly didn't take this with my heart. I took it with a pragmatic view of, what's the situation? Okay, this is Chelsea. I'm going from Derby to Chelsea. Not many managers would turn that down, head or heart. Let's get it right. Ultimately, that is a pragmatic decision. It's an opportunity, a job opportunity that you think like, let's see if I can do this. So yeah, let's read this next part. I like it. If I was to come back to Chelsea in 55 years of age with titles behind me, I think the rules would be the same. There's an expectation to perform, to win. If you don't get them right, you might leave the club. I went into it knowing how I want to manage, from 20 years of playing, the great managers I've worked under, the year in the media where I looked at myself, where I wanted to be, and if I wanted to go into management. Frank then goes on to talk about general stuff like, you know, looking back in hindsight and mistakes that you've made and, you know, changes that you'd make. Naturally, when you get fired from a job, that's what you do. You go, oh, what could I have done better? Or what should I have done better? And how could I have enhanced my methods better? as a sort of self-evaluating, methodical man, of course he's going to do that. Next up, he talks about all the support from the managers, multiple managers, name drops guys, and sort of heartwarming things, because there was a lot of solidarity and support. I'm not going to go into that. It's just general narrative you can expect, because he's quite a likeable guy in the football circles, Frank Lampard. But I want to talk about Thomas Tuchel now. Thomas Tuchel revealed in his first press conference as Lampard's successor that his predecessor had sent him a good luck message, and the German last week recognised the part Lampard played in Chelsea's runs to the FA Cup and Champions League final. That's right, Tuchel has shown a lot of respect towards Frank Lampard, which is a professional sort of politician thing to do, but I generally think there's some compassion there from our new German coach, and Frank Lampard comments and responds to this. "I just felt the message was the right thing to do," said Lampard. "I think as you mature, realising going to the Chelsea job might not last forever, things will change around you, and for me, the only way to leave a long-term success and actually do the right thing is by acting right and showing people the right respect." He's obviously a top-class manager, and I appreciated his words last week. I would happily meet him. He's much busier than me at the minute, so I'll leave him be for the next couple of weeks. I really like that, because Thomas Tuchel did do the right thing. He said, like, you know, he didn't have to talk about that text message. He could have responded and been like, "Thanks, Frank, mate. You know, I really mean it. You're a club legend. Thank you, wish you the best of luck." But he said no, he sent me a message, and he said that so many times in the media, Thomas Tuchel. He made sure, look, this guy sent me a message, he deserves great respect, and he's done a good body of work for me. And he's picked up on that later. Tuchel's gone through turbulent coaching problems and, you know, this, that and the other, the European Super League drama, and he still said, you know what, we're here because of what we've done, but also because of the amazing body of work Lampard did originally. You know, some superb FA Cup games, an immaculate group stage in the Champions League, and coaching these players in a certain way that now Tuchel's utilising regardless. So, you know, it's the right thing to do, and it's great that, you know, there's that. Frank Lampard supports Chelsea, he's happy with the manager doing great work there, and he happily wants to meet him when he's less busy. Nothing would make me happier than a picture of Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel with a beer in a hand, you know, talking about Chelsea and hopefully Chelsea winning. For me, this kind of wraps up a story that was difficult this season, in a messed up season for multiple reasons, not just because a club legend getting sacked or a global pandemic, loads of new players that want to come in and score thousands of goals for Chelsea, yet Jorginho's our top goal scorer at the end of the season with 7 penalty goals. It's weird, man. Frank Lampard was a dream come true for me, and he got nominated for manager of the season in his first season, but that's fine. For me, his legacy is opening the door to the academy and just cutting his teeth in management even more. I want to see him continuing managing. He's heavily linked with Palace. I was going to talk about it in this video, but I think if he does get the job, I'll talk about it a little bit more. Yes, this is a Chelsea news video. He's not a Chelsea player or manager, but he's a Chelsea legend, and for me it's important. And what is important is Thomas Tuchel, the current Chelsea manager, saying all the right things about a potentially delicate situation and clearing the air so everyone can just respect each other and breathe. And for me, that's really positive. So hopefully you guys agree, and hopefully you enjoyed listening to me citing this article. I'll link it down in the description. The Telegraph, Matt Law, great journalist. I listened to him on the Londoners Blue podcast. It's a bit of a long video, so sorry about that. Hope you've enjoyed, my friends. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.